Hello and welcome back to the channel. And if you are listening on the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Brittany, for those of you who might be new here. And today we are going to be doing another question and answer style video. I actually really enjoyed the last one and I feel called to do more of them. So I have a few more of your questions here that we're going to dive into. I'm thinking of calling this segment like Brit Talk, TED Talk, Brit Talk. I don't know. I just think it's fun. But without further ado, let's dive in. Before we do, if you're not subscribed yet, it would mean the world to me. Okay, that's it. Let's dive in. So we have everything is changing around me. How the I don't know, it's too early in the video to be able to swear, but how the F do I cope and stay intentional about my life when it's chaos? You know, that can be really hard when things around you are changing and it's scary, you know, when you don't know why things are happening the way they're happening, or when things shift around you that you didn't expect to shift. You know, things that come to mind could be like a breakup, a loss of a job, or things not going right, whatever it may be, you know, whether it be big things or small things. It can be difficult to navigate change, especially when it's unexpected, and especially when there are multiple things changing around you. What I really want to say to that, though, is this is actually really exciting. Things often need to fall apart in order for things to actually fall together, for a higher timeline to fall into place for you. And I want to validate the scariness and the realness of everything changing around you, because we're human. And the ego wants to control everything, especially when we think things are going to go a certain way and they don't. That fear is often pulled out of us. So I want to validate how you're feeling. And, you know, I think it's important to give yourself permission to feel what you need to feel. If you're overwhelmed and you need to cry, let yourself cry. If you're angry, let yourself be angry. Let yourself feel those human emotions so that they can move through you. But also remember that this very much so is all happening for a reason. And the more you can surrender to it, and not hold on, the easier it will be for you. And it's reminding yourself, okay, redirection is divine intervention. Divine intervention, redirection is divine protection. Redirection is divine protection. Divine intervention is another name for it. But it is divine intervention. And often when our ego is attached for things, we need some help to let them go. And that's when spirit comes in, and that's when shifts often happen. And often it's because you're ready for new, you're ready for change. Your soul's like, okay, I'm ready to level up. I'm ready because I have the tools now and I'm ready to move through this. So that's when things kind of start shaking up for you. It's like call to action is like what's coming to mind. It's like when your soul is ready to level up, and it might take a bit for the human self to get on board, because it can be jolting, and the human mind often doesn't, the human mind is not created to see into the future. So that can bring about a lot of fear when all of this change is happening and you're kind of like, oh my gosh, what's the outcome going to be? What's going to happen? How am I going to deal with this? X, Y, and Z. You often might think of the worst case scenario, and in those moments, the best thing you can do is don't put your energy into the future. Don't put your energy into the outcome, and trust that your soul is guiding you. Listen to your heart, tune into your heart space, trust your intuition during this time, and let that be your guide. Let that be your navigation system. And when the universe takes something away from you, really tune back into the heart and trust that this is being pulled out of your life because it is no longer in alignment with you. And that can be difficult. So it's being human and giving yourself the permission to feel all of those things while releasing it, while surrendering to spirit, knowing and trusting that they have your best interest at heart, and your soul is on board with this, because this wouldn't be happening if your soul wasn't on board with it. So trust yourself. Trust your soul. Your soul has been around eons longer than your mind has been, and the mind wants to control everything because it's there to keep you safe, but it's reminding the mind, okay, you don't know what's best for me. My soul knows what's best for me. So I'm going to trust my soul, even if I'm unable to see what's next, even if I'm unable to see exactly what the path ahead looks like. And yes, acknowledge that it can be scary when everything around you is changing, and really just take care of yourself during this time. really take care of yourself. Rest. Often when a lot of change is happening, there might be emotions are high. So if you're emotional, that can be tiring, that can be exhausting. Give yourself the space you need, give yourself the time you need to feel, rest, take care of yourself, whether that be moving, meditation, do something for your mind, whether that be meditation or journaling. I would recommend a movement every day as well, mind, body, soul, and release, and release. I hope that helps. Daily habits for yourself, whatever that may look like. Again, something for the mind, body, and soul. I would implement something every day, and also pursue your passion. Like, don't forget to make time for joy. That's really important. Often when chaos and conflict or whatever it may be is happening around us, we forget about what makes us happy. And I think that sometimes it is in those times the most we need the joy. So don't forget to do things that also bring some joy into your life. You can experience two emotions at the same time. You can be going through a tough time in your life while also making time to do things that do bring some joy as well. But listen to yourself, listen to your body, listen to your emotional needs, and give yourself the permission to cater to what those needs are, even if they're different than normal. I know that when I was really going through it and when a lot of change was happening for me, there were days where I was so exhausted and I just needed to rest all day. So trust that as well and don't judge yourself for that. Okay, next question. What's your martial arts background in, current level, and how long have you been at it? I love this question because I'm actually thinking of training again. I really want to get back into training. So I did Taekwondo for years. That was the primary martial art that I was involved with. I was actually a martial arts instructor for a while, or a Taekwondo instructor, I should say. I'm a second degree black belt. Yeah. And I've done other martial arts as well, like kickboxing, a little bit of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. The studio that I train at, they taught us a few different things other than Taekwondo, but that's where my black belt is at. But I'm getting that this was years ago, and I just am craving to train again. I actually started going back to the studio for kickboxing, and I really want to train Taekwondo again. I'm like, maybe I could get back in and go for my 3rd degree black belt. I don't know, but I don't know. I'm feeling the call. My soul's calling me back. So yeah, thank you for asking. Next question. What do you think the unmotivated feeling is trying to show us? Okay, I think this is a great question. I think that when we are unmotivated, it's a sign to slow down and tune in. Because if you're not wanting to do something, if you're not like, yes, I want to do it, there's a reason for that. And I feel like it depends what it is you're referring to. Sometimes to break a habit, you need to have motivation to break that habit. Or if, let's say, you're trying to implement a habit, let's say you're trying to implement some sort of movement every day, you might be unmotivated to do it because it's out of your comfort zone. Do you know what I'm saying? So you might need some dedication to build that up. But I think if let's say you're really into something, and this is kind of how I'm taking the question, so this is how I'm going to answer it. Let's say you're really into something or whatever it may be, and you have no issues with motivation. And then all of a sudden you're just unmotivated to do things, or just unmotivated kind of for no quote unquote no reason. Know that there always is a reason. There's always a deeper reason. And I would get curious about it. For example, let's say it's a project that you started working on and you really, you were enjoying it at first, then you just feel unmotivated to do it. It's probably because maybe it's not so aligned with you anymore, and that's okay. Maybe your soul is seeking a redirection. Maybe your soul is seeking something a little different. So I feel like I love this question. I just feel like it really depends on the context of the situation, if that makes sense. But I 100% believe it is the soul trying to communicate, and there is an underlying reason. And that underlying reason can be different depending on the person, depending on the situation, and all of the things. So what I would recommend is you getting curious about whatever it may be. Get curious. Don't think about it too hard, because you don't want to be in your mind about it. You want to be in your body about it, because the mind sometimes will lie to you. The mind can be really tricky. So question it, but trust that, and this is where you need to be open and really honest with yourself as well. So question it, sit with it, see what comes to you, and when things come to you, see what feels right, and know that it's okay if you don't get the answer right away either. But I would say get inquisitive, get reflective, and know that it is some sort of communication from your soul. But whatever it is specifically it's trying to tell you can definitely differentiate depending on, who it is, etc., etc. You mentioned there was a time in your life when you quit your job teaching and took a break to do something else. How did you know it was the right choice to make to leave your job? I'm experiencing something similar and it feels scary. I'm trying to listen to my intuition, but sometimes it's hard to tell what's right because it's illogical. Okay, so I think that is a great question as well. I was at a place when I decided to quit. It was a risk. Like, it absolutely was a risk. And I really trusted my intuition. I trusted my intuition. I trusted my internal voice. But I got myself to a place where I was able to recognize that voice. And actually something, and this is not me telling you to do this, okay? Disclaimer, this is not me telling you that, oh, you should do this and, you'll get the answer, whatever. But I did a psilocybin journey a couple months before making the decision to quit. And that journey was super impactful for me. Before that journey, I wasn't really considering quitting yet. I was considering quitting like 6 months later. And then that journey gave me the courage to quit 6 months earlier, essentially. So that really helped me gain the clarity. And I didn't go into that journey with that intention. My intention was, what is it that I need to know at this time? I trust spirit to deliver whatever it is that's most needed for me. And that was a big part of the journey. So for me, it was just this internal knowing, this deep-seated internal knowing. I already knew this before the psilocybin journey, but the psilocybin journey helped me make that risk a little sooner. It made it even more clear in my mind, if that makes sense. But before the psilocybin journey, I was already set on it. And it was my intuition. I just knew that I was really unhappy with where I was at. And I was unhappy for a couple years. When I was teaching before I quit, I said, help me. And it was a year and a half to 2 years later, that's when I had the opportunity to quit. So there was an uncomfortable period of time, and it's knowing that uncomfortable period of time is very necessary. If without that discomfort, we wouldn't have the motivation. Without that discomfort, we wouldn't know to quit. We wouldn't know that we want something more. That uncomfortable feeling is really necessary to push us to do the next thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that uncomfortable feeling is not meant to, when that uncomfortable feeling happens, we often feel like we need to get rid of it right away. So just be really honest and reflective with where you're at. Like, can I do this? Like, can I do this? And it's really believing in yourself. Like, it's really believing in yourself. When I tell you, nobody in my life supported me. So you need to be your biggest cheerleader. You need to believe in yourself more than anybody, but you truly need to believe in yourself. And when you truly believe in yourself, when you truly believe that you can make change happen, you will, but you genuinely have to be on board. You and your spirit have to be on board. It can't be a faking, oh yes, I'm going to do it, but not actually believe it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's normal to have some doubt, but you really need to have faith and have trust, even if you're not getting that validation externally. I hope that makes sense. So if you're doing it just because everyone in your life is like, yeah, you should do it, and you're doing it because other people are supporting you, it's like, you want to make sure that you're confident as well. If you have other people supporting you, then that's amazing. Like, that's a bonus. But you just want to make sure that you fully are confident in yourself, regardless of whether or not people support or don't support your decision. I hope that makes sense. Like, it really needs to be an internal thing. And it's like, the more you work on yourself, the more you foster your relationship with yourself and with source, the easier it will be to trust yourself. Therefore, the easier it will be to trust spirit as well, because you'll trust the messages that you get from spirit and from your intuition. And then you'll be able to take action on that. So I hope that answers your question. So we're going to do another question here. Do you teach tarot? I'll do this one short and sweet. I do not teach tarot. There's so much to know about tarot. And if I'm being honest, I know tarot, but there's a lot more to it that I'm no expert on, if that makes sense. I really use tarot as a tool. I use tarot as a tool and I read the energy. I don't depend solely on the cards. I guess my point with that is I love tarot and it's a tool for me to help me be a medium and to help me be a channel. With that said, I don't think I am at a level to teach tarot. I could definitely teach basics and stuff like that because I know a good amount about it, but I'm no expert, if that makes sense. Tarot for me is a tool that I use to help me connect, but I don't rely on the cards. I can do my readings without the cards, and sometimes I'll have a full spread of cards and I'll get the same spread the next time and the messages will be very different depending on the energy that I feel. So I hope that makes sense. Next question. How do you deal with the remnants that linger when shedding the old version of self? That's a good question. So time and giving yourself permission to feel what you need to feel. When you're shedding the old parts of self, there's going to be a lot of emotion that arises. There's going to be a lot of emotions that need to move through you. Give yourself the permission to feel what you need to feel. Give yourself the permission to purge what you need to purge. Have no judgment for it and know that it's not something that just happens overnight. It's not just something that, it just happens overnight. So it's just holding yourself in the process, being graceful with yourself in the process, being patient, really taking care of yourself too, because often when you're shedding old parts of yourself, it's, ego death, you're going through healing. It can be a lot. So it's really like pampering yourself, taking care of yourself, nurturing yourself, and putting your energy inward and really being there to hold yourself through that time. And don't really stress too much about other things. Your energy is best needed inside. Yeah, your energy is best needed inward. And I'm looking back at the question. I'm like, maybe I didn't answer it fully correctly. It says, how do you deal with the remnants that linger? So know that everything will shed at its divine timing. It's not like you wake up the next day and you're this new version of yourself. It's like a fade in and fade out, So it's trusting that the old parts of you that need to be shed, the dark shadow will arise, like that whatever needs to be shed, it'll come to your awareness in the necessary time. And if there's certain parts that you want to change, then it's taking action and it's sitting with, okay, why am I unable to shed this? There's a reason I'm unable to shed this. What is that reason? Sit with it, ask for guidance, ask for help. And when you're able to get down to what the root is, the why behind why you're unable to shed, then you can heal that part of it, the root of it. But it's being patient and knowing that if all of these things were to come to surface, all of these parts of you that need to be shed, if it were all to come to you surface at once, you would be so overwhelmed. There's no way you'd be able to do it. It would be too much at once. So it's trusting that there is divine timing at play and things are not going to be brought to your awareness to shed until you're ready for it. And if you are aware of something that needs to be shed, but you're struggling with whatever that is, it's being curious, it's being reflective, and it's asking for help. It's, okay, what is the root of this here? Why am I unable to shed this? There must be something deeper here. Spirit, help bring this to my awareness, and then be patient. And again, give yourself grace through this time. And yeah, there's no rush. Trust the divine timing. Okay. I'm going to leave this one here for today. How long was this video? This one's definitely shorter than the other one. Darn sirens. But let me know what you thought of today's video. Let me know if you like the longer form or shorter form better. I think I might do more videos of the shorter form. I think that's what I'm going to go for. Then I could post more of them, more frequent. Anyways, we'll see. I just kind of do what I want to do. And it changes all the time. I just go with the flow. But I'm sending you guys so much love. Thank you for those who wrote in your questions. Keep an eye out on my Instagram story because that's where I take these questions. So if you're a part of my YouTube community, podcast community, but you don't follow me on TikTok and Instagram, you definitely should. Specifically, I guess, Instagram, because that's where I post these Q&As, like on my story. That's where you can ask the question. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. I would love to see your discourse in the comments below. I'm sending you all so much love. And until next time, bye.
This is me, I'm so royal, and you all wanna be round. Yeah, you all wanna be round a champion, a champion.